It does.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
oh, we gotta behave ourselves.
Oh, yeah. I see there's others on here.
Okay, I'd like to convene everybody and welcome to the 3 p.m. meeting, Monday, September 12th, ADRC committee meeting. Some of us are virtual and some of us are in the room 33 of the Human Services Building. Okay, Beth, are there any members of the public? I don't see anybody on the line. Okay. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the August 8th ADRC meeting.
I so move. Kate Fentner.
Kate,
Second, Mike Norton.
thank you. Any
Yes, I
conversation
have
or questions or comments?
I have a question,
Okay.
a couple of questions.
Okay,
And then I also noticed, your name was spelled wrong, Paul.
yeah, I noticed that.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting. It was spelled wrong the first time, but then was correct all the other times. So it's like, I figure.
Oh,
I'm called here instead of writing.
I have a question about, what the acronym ERN stands for.
Employment Resource Network, I believe. It's a national company that works with employers and schools and different places to help support employees. I could be wrong. It's something along those lines, though. Employee Resource Network, maybe.
Any other questions or comments, Rob?
I have a question on page 6. It's called, it's the third dot down. The funding balance together coalition utilize grant money to purchase fall kits, which will be handed out at the upcoming classes and at the ADRC open house. And I was wondering if there has been more of those.
We got them from Public Health. So either are more available through Public Health, if you wanted to talk to Joanne Murphy Spice, or if you wanted us, we could make arrangements to get one from her and have it here.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yep, just let us know. We handed out most of them at the open house.
Okay,
Alana, hopefully you can nod yes or no. We do have some more left yet.
Yes, and actually it was a grant fund from the Ladies Benevolent Society that specifically sent us about $1,300 to purchase those kits.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing nothing further, I'll consider the motion or the minutes approved as read. Beth, would you like to start us off with the caregiver shortage agenda item, please?
Sure, if you all remember, we identified the caregiver shortage as one of our focal points at this point in our meetings to look at what impact, if anything, we could have on the caregiver shortage. Some of the discussions we've had included how do we engage, for example, refugees or people from other countries who may not be entering into that field. The ERN that Rob just asked about would be a way for providers to try and better retain their staff, if not recruit more staff. But wanted to talk as a group about ideas that we had or that we think we might be able to pursue to have an impact on our caregiver shortage.
I have at least one that comes to mind for myself. Is there anything within the either Lakeland Care District or the other provider, I'm blocking on their name at the moment, in terms of how many employees or CNAs are represented. So I know that Parkview, as an example, is represented. So that's, 130, 160 beds, whatever it is. But of the remaining 2,500 beds, how many of those employees are considered represented, or is that it?
Give me a little bit more detail, so.
Well, what I'm interested in essentially is how many have union representation as a methodology of going forward to say, albeit, I'm being a member of management in the past, when I was working, is that an idea worth evaluating going forward, to saying to either the management and or labor, hey, maybe we could be in a better position work or employment wise if we had a formal working contract.
I believe since Walker, the former Governor Walker abolished the unions, I don't know that any of them are represented.
Okay,
So I don't know that anybody's in a union anymore.
and I suppose there's nothing historical that you can draw on, either you or your colleagues can draw on, relative to what life was like in this segment of the delivery
I think
system.
we could make a comparison, but I don't know if it would be due to union. We saw a drastic decline in caregiver availability post, years after that, after the union went away.
Okay,
So there's been a kind of a steady decline, and then there was a drastic decline.
okay,
And then during COVID, an even more drastic decline.
okay,
Some would say it has to do with a generation of people who tend to switch jobs more, not just jobs, we all switch jobs, but switch careers more. So I'm gonna be a banker today, and I'm gonna be a real estate realtor tomorrow. So there seems to be more bouncing around with careers. But I don't know if we can we could get numbers, but I don't know if we could make a correlation to get at what the kind of root causes of the caregiver shortage.
yeah,
And it's not just pay. I think in some of the surveys that were done, pay is a factor. However, some people would say it has to do with scheduling, because the prime time that people need care is when people don't want to be working. As you take kids services, for example, kids are in school from 8 to 3:30. So that's when people want to work. They don't want to pick up a 6 to 8 a.m. shift and then work from 4 to 6 and then go to a different person's house to work from 6 to 8.
Right.
So the sporadic part of it makes it hard. Same thing with 24-hour residential facilities. They gotta have somebody there all weekend. They gotta have someone there every night. It just makes those are hard shifts. Nicole, I don't know if you have anything you wanted to tap into from your experience with a caregiver agency about difficulty in hiring.
Sure, I think that we tried to give people whatever hours they wanted. So if you only wanted to work 8 to 3:30 instead of let's say you had kids, we would give people that. We didn't even really have much luck with that. What I've heard or what we saw was just that it's a really difficult job, and a lot of younger people coming up like fast, easy results in jobs, whereas caregiving is something that you're really plugging away. And I also think that it's not necessarily something that's widely given credit for. So it's not something that people are like, oh wow, you work in a nursing home, you're a CNA, where it used to be something that was at a higher level where people were more proud to be that.
Those are both really good points. The fact that people want immediate gratification for the work they're doing, and that's not what you get here, as well as the status.
Well, and I think what we've seen too is it's really not that much different than like work for the county, you know, where it used to be something that people thought was really, gratifying, and now we are having a hard time finding people that want those positions because social work and caregiving and things like that are like, it's a lot of work to help people.
It's hard work and, if I can go, there are other employers that are it's so competitive for employment now, for employees. A lot of people consider caregiving is hard work, and it's always been the case that it isn't just about the wage, it's gotta come from the heart. And those people are still out there, but the realism is, I think, if I could get $20 an hour for watching packages go by, most people are gonna take that rather than do difficult work with people with dementia and possibly, have someone pinching or poking you as you're trying to provide cares. It's just, it is what it is. I think the other part is the difficulty is in those facilities, you have 3 to 11, 11 to 7 shifts. Well, those are the days where people's daycare options go down significantly. Nobody provides second shift daycare, really. And Nicole's exactly right. We're experiencing some difficulties in hiring here at the county that we haven't experienced ever.
Right.
So it's a changing face of the workforce, so to speak, a little bit. Kind of a bunch of different factors, as I see it.
I think 2 more factors involved, kind of based on that pandemic. One is the government has been throwing too much money at people, so they lose the incentive to work. And I think the other thing, the pandemic is taught people that life is short, there's more to life than work. And so they're more selective in what they're going to do.
I think you're absolutely right, that whether it's 9/11 or any event, including COVID since then, has got people thinking about life is short, live it, yeah.
Well, and we even have someone who works here who loves her job, but she is able to work remotely and live in an RV and travel, and she realized that, like what you said, life is too short. And now, like, there are so many different opportunities out there for people where they can be completely remote and they can work from Tahiti and go on vacation and do all these exciting things very quickly with instant gratification. And so I think the younger generation is looking for more exciting opportunities.
I know that we know we have an issue, but do we actually have numbers to back it up? Would that be helpful? Would it be helpful to pull the agencies or the facilities that need care workers? How many of them positions do they have? What are the shifts? What are they paying? So that we have a snapshot. And then what will we do with that information? We need to take it somewhere, not just keep it for ourselves. I would think that, I don't know, you take it to the state, you ask for some of this money that is flying around to increase these salaries and get at the root of the problem. I think we have to get upstream of it, but do we actually have a snapshot and know what those numbers are? How many are we lacking? Or did somebody already do that? Is
Well,
it
we
even
did
relevant?
We had our intern attempt to do that. We didn't get a tremendous response to it. But we had a sampling and it was pretty consistent amongst the agencies. One of the things that was hard for them to quantify is they could kind of give a percentage, but actual numbers were hard because if they had more staff, they would take on more clients. So there's the question about, do you have enough staff to serve the current clients? No. How many staff do you need? Well, it depends because they would probably expand services if they had more staff. So I can share that survey again. And I know that there's been some statewide surveys too. With the ARPA and CARES Act funds that people are getting, it's limited to the end of 2024. So if you give staff an increase with those funds, then at the end of 2024, that money isn't there. So it can be used for infrastructure. It can be used like this project that I'm working with Lakeland and Covey on to try and increase the status of this as a career, to try and better support people who are in this career. But we can't use it for pay because there's nothing to pick it up as of January 2025.
Well, and in home care, what they would do with the extra money from the government is if somebody worked with a client from community care or Lakeland during a certain amount of month, they would get bonuses. So there was additional money coming in from the government to give bonuses to caregivers. So in the 5 years when I was the director of a home care agency, people got consistent bonuses. So, I mean, some people got $1,000. And they didn't know when they were gonna get it. It was like very random, but a couple of times a year, they got pretty big bonuses if you consistently worked.
And Covey said that they're getting a $500 sign-on bonus and a bonus for referrals, and they have like almost no applicants. Actually, Parkview, I believe, is giving a bonus too, but I don't recall how much.
I was at Parkview this morning and they still have an entire wing closed because they said they don't have any staff, and this is the first time ever that they have an entire wing closed.
Do you have a sense, Nicole, what the inpatient numbers are at Parkview?
I don't know. We just had a training in the wing that was closed, and they were saying that how it was unprecedented that it's been closed for this long, and there's no plan on opening it because they just don't have the staffing to fulfill it.
And just to remind everyone, this isn't just a caregiver thing. You know, restaurants are closing, businesses are closing for the same reason. They can't find staff. So I don't want to be Debbie Downer. I just want to remind people that again, there's the numbers in the workforce aren't helping us out much. But I do think that we could still continue to be creative and what can we do? You know, should we reach out to World Relief and see if the people who are coming here are considering taking care of people who might speak their language who need care, because we're getting a lot of people from Afghanistan who have care needs, you know. So I mean, that would be one way to put a dent in things. You know, I think we can come up with some creative ways to at least, again, put a dent in it or try and improve it.
Well, I think that's an excellent idea, Beth. Is there a reason that we wouldn't do that? Reach out to World Relief? And then structure some schedule of, you know, paid time off, you know, earned time off if you work consistently, and, you know, a trade rather than giving them more money, you're actually earning vacation time.
Mhm. Yeah. One of the agencies we work with for children hired and again, that's along the lines of a success coach or a peer mentor, but they hired someone to work with the staff on processing incidents that happen. So they work with some pretty tough kids who can be very abusive and hard to support. And when incidences happen, they of course process it with the child and with the family and work through that. But now they have someone who's working with the staff just as a support to staff. Yeah. So this grant that we're turning in today has to do with, you know, we're trying to attract people who may not have a degree, may not have a lot of experience, might be lower income people that are entering the field. And then they're the ones who've got car problems and have to cancel because of this. And so kind of a case manager for staff is what the concept is for the grant.
That's an excellent idea as well.
Mhm.
Because you are at a demographic that probably doesn't have the resources to even get to work.
Right.
And then is there a way to offer childcare or childcare credits?
Exactly.
So that to remove the barriers for the reasons that they're not coming.
And that's exactly what the grant that we're submitting tonight is about.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions or remarks?
I have a friend, I don't know if I'm on here.
You are,
Okay. I have a friend who was and she's an RN and managing a CPR app, and she just resigned her job because of such frustration. She was working, I suppose she's in a salaried position, but working 60 and 70 hours a week to do a lot of the care herself because people didn't show up. Or she'd hire somebody, just get through orientation, and they didn't show up. I mean, very frustrating situation for her. And that drove her to the point of, okay, I guess I've got to resign. I can't do this anymore.
And that's another problem that's contributing to the caregiver shortage, is that the people who are in the field and liking what they're doing and want to be in this field are getting burned out by the fact that they're working 50, 60 hours a week. And so people are leaving the field that might have stayed in because of the shortages. So talk about a vicious cycle. We have staff shortages, which puts more pressure on people working in the field, which then causes them to leave, which puts more vicious cycle there. You know, I don't know how to like deploy this. We could talk about it at another meeting. I believe that one of the solutions is to create less of a need for paid caregivers. An example would be in some countries, there might be a family who's got 3 adult sons with a disability, and they're living at home with their parents, and things are fine, but the parents need a break. And so all 3 of them might be with one family on the first weekend of the month. And then they would be with another family on the second weekend, and a different family on the third, and then they're with their own family without anyone else on the fourth weekend of the month, such that means every other weekend you get a full weekend break. You know, so that concept, I'm just using that to simplify how those types of kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, but those kind of concepts to keep people out of paid caregiver needs. And the paid caregiver needs are going to be there. They're always going to be there. But how do we reduce that by supporting, you know, Brian experiences this all the time, where there's a caregiver who is caring for their spouse, and they just get to the point where I can't do it anymore. It's 24/7. And if there was more support, maybe that person who has the needs wouldn't have to go into a setting. So I firmly believe that somehow as a country, we could do better supporting either non-paid or more natural supports in caregiving.
Like a share the care or a time banking.
Yep,
Are
all those kind of things, yep.
Those got
Foster care.
those were kind of buzzwords a while back. And maybe that is a really great idea to revisit that stuff in our community, because I don't know where these caregivers are coming from, and there's going to be more people, you know, needing care, whether that's people aging and having infirmities of aging, if you will. Where are we going? Because it's everywhere. Like you said, it's restaurants,
so I'm going to throw something out here. China as a country is doing what I think is a pretty innovative area. So if Kate and Jan and myself are in a part of the community, I do 10 credits worth of work for Kate, do 2 credits worth of work for Jan. That's banked.
Yeah, that's a
And
time.
whatever Kate needs, or you know, can determine all that stuff. And then when I need, say, 50 credits of, say, a tax consultation time, or harassing Alana for, you know, a week, or, you know, whatever. And
Is
then
time, is time banking here still a thing?
what's that?
That I know of. I'm surprised that with all these, like Harold mentioned, or whoever mentioned, or Kate maybe, these ARPA grants and this money coming to help us post-COVID, that no one that I know of has submitted a grant to set up an infrastructure for that. So, you know, I mean, you have to have a system to track the time. to promote the program, to monitor it. I'm
Yeah.
surprised no one has taken that on.
Admittedly, it takes, the infrastructure, you're right, Beth, has got to get put into place, but it would seem to me that would dovetail very nicely with your unpaid caregiver stuff.
Well,
Absolutely.
it actually, there's timebanks.org, which is out there.
There you go.
I was involved with that, geez, well over a decade ago, at the high school level, because they had a special needs class that they were trying to find work for them, and the whole time bank theory. And I got quite familiar with that, but that is all set up. You just
Okay.
need to join. They have
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
all.
I was at some of those meetings as well, Kate, out in Winnebago at the Presbyterian.
yep.
Yeah, I remember that. That's at least 10 years ago, I would think.
Yeah, it was before my kids graduated, so it was prior to 2012.
And the whole concept is using the gifts you've been given. So I know
Right.
Alana had put in the chat that they're doing that in her neighborhood, raking for computer help. That's using the gifts. I might know how to change oil in a car. But,
Right.
It's
Yep.
just whatever you have to offer. So boy, that's a really neat concept that
It is.
needs to be.
Well, and you can do it
revisited.
at a neighborhood level. You can maybe get some of the Lakeland Care could be involved. You could pitch to the schools, to the faith communities. There's lots of ways you can go with it, but it is already a thing.
We are pitching this to the neighborhood association, and we have an alliance meeting tonight that I was going to share our Google survey where we asked all of our neighbors, like, what are your skills, mechanics, teaching, technology, that kind of stuff. And so we have a general sense of who would have those skills and be interested when a request comes up. But we haven't included caregiving. And I'm sad that I didn't think of it earlier, but well, I'll bring that up to the group.
Thank you. And I see Mike put something in the chat about that too.
I just have one comment, or maybe a couple. Unless I'm mistaken, I think kids have to take mental health classes now. And I'm thinking with all that, and I didn't have any of that, and then they have a good attitude about working. And if that could be instilled from an early age, then things would be different.
Yeah, it would.
Oh.
For some of the high schools that have programs that are kind of feeder programs into this field, a lot of that was paused during COVID. So I'll check back to that program and see if it's up and running again. Would it seem reasonable? I know I don't usually give assignments or ask you to do stuff much outside these meetings, but for each of you to kind of do a little researching on the time banking. I know Alana said she's got a meeting, and it was her that put it in the chat about the neighborhood associations. Could we each take it upon ourselves to look at or consider or think about, more of that concept?
I'm certainly willing to do my China idea.
I'm not trying to push my natural support thing, but I think it's something we can have an impact on.
Right.
And also to be mindful of how, you don't want to start it out too big, because I think it would be clunky and maybe not work, but maybe the neighborhood level is the initial place we start, and then with the hope that will branch out to a whole community.
Yes.
But I think it would be unwieldy to start there.
Yep.
So the smaller the better. Maybe be mindful of how that could work before the next meeting.
I think there's tremendous potential. If I spent an evening with an older adult in my neighborhood that needed support because her son, who normally helps her out, needs a break, and oh, by the way, he can shovel my driveway one time this winter. I sign me up. So I think there's tremendous potential. Again, starting maybe at a more neighborhood level and then going city or county one. Alana's got her hand up.
Oh, I just put a question in. Kate, if you can send me the name of that specific timeshare platform, because when I Googled it, I was just finding banking.
Oh, sure. Timebanks.org, actually.
Thank you.
Okay,
And
any
I
other
I can
comments?
resurrect some of the stuff that I think I might still have it on my computer. We got quite deeply involved in that in Winnebago. We had a launch to get people interested, and quite honestly, it was not well attended, but we didn't have the same needs then that we do now.
Well, I think,
The whole society has changed.
well, and I think, we'd have to think through a marketing and communications approach, but I do really think that for some communities, I think there's a need to reconnect and re-engage. And this might be a relatively safe way to do it. So all great ideas. Looks like Beth is going to have a few things to, all of us will have a few things to follow up on. So why don't we just plan on putting it again on next month's agenda, please? And if you think of any either guest presenters or innovative, thought-provoking materials, please route through Beth and we'll have at it. Okay, Mr. Bryan, would you take
Just
us
to
away
kind
on the caregiver support program, please?
Just to kind of piggyback on the last conversation, I think one thing with our caregiver programs and how it's affecting agencies is we've had, in the interest of these agencies keeping the employees that they have, they are increasing what they're paying. So essentially what we're seeing is many more requests to increase their rate that they charge to provide care to our folks. And I think we all understand that, but the logistics of that is we only have so much money to help each person. So we just essentially with an increased rate, we're able to help less hours per month because of that increase. And that's kind of happened. How many times would you say, Beth, overall with different agencies? Because Beth does the contracting.
At a minimum of 2/3.
So everybody's trying to keep the employees they have, and not easy work, but so that's kind of how it kind of backs up against the caregiver programs. But I'm happy to say we're serving quite a few people in our community still. I think I had brought to this meeting once before that, kind of at the beginning of 2022, we were extremely over authorized in specifically the NFCSP program. Our staff, we worked with our staff to be able to create efficiencies in that program in the interest, kind of why we've gotten to that is because we had some dollars with COVID, some COVID dollars that we were able to put into that. So we grew the program essentially, which was a beautiful thing. We were able to help more people. And now we don't have those monies anymore, but you can't just tell someone they're not going to get any services. So what we chose to do was reduce the amount of services that each person were getting for supportive home care. Supportive home care meaning that's house cleaning, it's taking the garbage out, it's, kind of things that are very, very important to people, but aren't kind of emergent or matter of life and death most times. So we asked them, our staff, to go out and find efficiencies and to be able to do, we went from essentially many times doing 2 hours a week to 4 hours a month per person. And we looked at that as the best way to kind of handle the glut of people we had. And I'm happy to say we've reduced the amount of monies that we're paying out for that particular program. In January, it was $19,000. That's how many people we had. We still have 96 people that we're serving under the caregiver program. And that's beautiful. We're helping in the community. We're helping caregivers to maintain freshness and free from burnout. But how do you do that? We're trying to do it through reducing these hours and then also through attrition. As people are reassessed to go to family care, as their care needs get higher, we are assessing and doing that. So we're taking them off the rolls that way, but that doesn't happen overnight. So I'm happy to report, in the NSCSP program, we were spending $19,000 in the month of January, and we are down to just over $4,000 a month now. So we've made a considerable cut. That still means, quite honestly, that we'll be over budget, which Beth and I are prepared for a little bit. We're gonna be asking maybe some the help of the state a little bit with our problem. But we presently, I think we've talked about these programs. So the AFCSP program is the program that has some income requirements. You have to make $48,000 in income or less to be involved with that program. You also have to have a dementia diagnosis or something that has kind of degenerative issues with the brain. Parkinson's is another one. So that program, as you can imagine, isn't as utilized as the NFCSP program. That's the one, there aren't those income requirements. There aren't the dementia diagnosis, so that's the program that gets utilized a little bit more. So we are serving 22 people with our AFCSP program at this point in the community. We still have room. We do not have a waiting list for that. So if people come in and they have the dementia diagnosis, they have a caregiver who's providing care informally that we can spell in some way, whether that's helping them to clean the house or taking to adult daycare or whatever it might be, we can still do that. The NFCSP program that I've been talking about, we are overspent, so we've created a waiting list for that. We are not accepting new folks to that program just yet. And we don't know, quite honestly, if we will in this calendar year for sure. But trying to pare that down a little bit and be a little bit more reasonable with the dollars we're spending. One of the things that we did notice when we were kind of doing the efficiencies with staff is getting back to what that program actually is. That program is caregiver based. And I think it's being looked at or has been looked at in the past year as kind of like a mini waiver program where we're looking at the client and their needs rather than what the caregiver needs to in the way of respite. And we're creating small little care plans for them. So we have, when I say I have 96 people that are signed up for NFCSP, some of those folks get a couple, 3 services. So not only are they getting supportive home care, they may also be getting a lifeline that we're paying for. They may also be getting a Meals on Wheels that doesn't occur very often. But what my counsel to my staff and then us getting better and growing is that that really isn't the function of this program to create kind of little care plans for people. We are no longer a waiver county. If people are needing that many things, we really should be considering family care or IRIS. That's our role here as an ADRC. And quite honestly, I think we've lost sight of that a little bit. So that is in our cards, kind of retraining our brains to think that way. But I don't have an overall amount that we're spending at this point, but this kind of the lay of the land where we're at. I think we've created some huge efficiencies and I'm excited about that, but we've got a long way to go yet. And so I think this will spill. We're going to try to not let it by the way we authorize things, but this with not being able to essentially kick someone off services, this will spill over into 2023 a little bit, but we're going to make that as minimal as possible from the get-go. You guys remember us coming in, we were saying how we were having difficulty spending money. We're on the opposite side of things now. We need to pare down. So there's a lot of needs out in our community, but it's our staff's perception of the program and our staff's, they have good hearts and they want to help, but really this isn't the design of the program. It's to keep us away from caregiver burnout and caregiver stress in general. And that's the focus of the program. And so we're kind of in a re-education mode and doing the best with what we've got. That's what I've got. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer that.
Ryan, can you walk us through if you have some demographic information across the county, most on east of 41, west of 41?
I don't have
information?
that. I don't necessarily have that demographic. I could certainly get it for the next meeting. I feel like if I had to say between our Oshkosh and Neenah office, which if you remember, we've regionalized things, so
Right,
Neenah staff
right.
only take calls up there. We, obviously, the Oshkosh surrounding area is heavily involved in these programs. I would say
Okay.
that's the glut of our folks. I could get addresses to find out how many we have in Winnebago County. But those have always been a little bit more difficult too, because with an agency, you gotta get them out there. And so if they're caregiving for a bunch of people in Oshkosh and all of a sudden we gotta run to Poygan, the logistics of that are, hey, you're gonna pay us for 3 hours to be out there, or we're not
Right.
going all that way out there. So
Right,
that's kind of what we're up against, and they totally understand that, and they have to make their kind of, business run. But again, we have a small pool of money that we're trying to help this caregiver out to remain stress-free or as stress-free as possible. So any changes to that, whether it's us having to do 3 hours at a clip because it makes logistic sense for them to get out there, that means we can do it less per month.
okay,
The auspices of the program is what require that.
thank you. Any other questions of Brian? Okay, back to you, Beth, with a meeting location discussion, please.
Pre-COVID, we had been meeting every third month in Neenah. So we would meet 2 months Oshkosh, 1 in Neenah, 2 months Oshkosh, simply because of the makeup of this group. Now that we're doing hybrid and we'll have to continue to do hybrid in the future, I'm wondering if we want to continue doing that. If having a meeting in Oshkosh next month means that everyone from in Neenah next month meant that everyone from Oshkosh is just going to Neenah, maybe it makes more sense to just continue to have them in Oshkosh. But I want to be considerate of the northern part of the county to find out if we held a meeting up there, would you be in person or would you be via Zoom? Because if you're going to be via Zoom, then it doesn't make sense for us to rotate back and forth.
I suspect Liz got a comment.
Yes, and I apologize. I couldn't get on my regular computer, and so I'm on an iPad, and I have no idea if you can see me, but oh, okay, great. Hi there. This works so well for me that, and I'm one of the people in Neenah. So there's no need to meet in Neenah for my on my account because this is working really, really well for me. So.
Other questions or comments?
How many other people are there from the Neenah area? Anyone?
Both of the vacancies that we have will be in the northern part of will be with people from the northern part of the county. So
Okay.
we can certainly, once we have those filled and know who they are, we can get their input. But, my proposal would be that we just continue to do it in Oshkosh until there's a request to have it in Neenah.
If you need a motion for that, I would so move.
Thank you, Kate. Looking for a second.
I'll
I'll
second.
that.
All right. Sounds like that's going to be pretty close to unanimous. Rob or Harold, any comments?
No comment.
Okay,
I was just going to mention also, it looks like, the technology is coming through really beautifully today. So the technology there in Oshkosh looks really good, if that helps the
kudos
consideration.
to Beth and Nicole for
It's really great.
technology prowess.
Glad to hear that.
Okay. Beth, do you want to continue with your staff report, please?
Sure. We just, I think it's been alluded to already today, but we typically don't have a lot of turnover in the ADRC. It's retirement based primarily. Brian announced at the last meeting that we lost one of our longest standing staff to retirement, and good for her. We do have a couple of upcoming changes. Nicole just mentioned one of our staff has the opportunity to get a remote job where she can literally travel the country like she's wanted to do for quite some time apparently, or how long she wanted to do it, and work remotely. So one of our elderly benefit specialists, the one in Oshkosh, is going to be leaving, October 5th is her last day. So we are, if you've looked on our website, recruiting for an elderly benefit specialist. And then we are expanding our ADRC just due to the workload and number of referrals, particularly in the northern part of the county. So we are in the process of hiring for that. In essence, one of the Oshkosh staff will be probably moving to Neenah. And then the new position will be in Oshkosh, but the end result is that we will have 5 staff in Neenah instead of 4 and maintain 6 in Oshkosh. We are very fortunate that one of our family support team service coordinators who works with our children's long-term support is interested in transferring to the ADRC. So yay us. However, we really can't let that happen until we backfill her position because that team has been short-staffed for a couple of years now. So we have to kind of hold off with our ADRC expansion until we can get our family support team in a better spot. So we will be expanding by 1 staff by the end of the year. And I think that's it. We have had a lot of, we have 1 person who just returned from maternity leave recently. We have 1 who just went out on maternity leave, a little short, sooner than we thought she would, last week, last Friday or Thursday. We've got another staff who just came back from surgery, 1 who's booking a surgery. So just we're a little bit more of a skeleton staff than we typically had been. And in fact, I will be having surgery myself and probably not here for the October meeting.
Good luck on your surgery.
Thank you.
Brian? Any comments or any additional remarks?
Yeah, I think one of the things Beth has kind of implored us as soups to be thinking about how we can be the most efficient with what we're doing. Because it literally, we were talking in Beth's office this morning, I don't remember us ever having the amount of kind of comings and goings, if you will, in FMLA that we have right now at one time. So it's just a matter of how are we doing our work and are we being as efficient as possible, whether that's meetings like this, you know, thinking about maybe doing a little bit more in the way of Zoom versus in person, because that takes less of the staff time to travel from location to location. So just trying to be smarter with the hours that we have folks here. So it's kind of gets the feel of a little bit all hands on deck right now. So, but we will get through it with a positive mental attitude and good service to the customer. That's a non-negotiable for all of us. So we'll get through it, but it's a little bit daunting right now.
Thank you, Brian. Nicole?
Sure. So we have a really exciting new multicultural program starting with the YMCA, where we are teaming with them to use their community kitchen to have members of the community who have a different cultural background to present on a food that's important to their culture, to cook the food, whether it's at home and bring it and talk about cooking it into the community kitchen. And we'll be doing that at the Y. We're going to do it once a month starting in November. And we already have 2 people, 1 from public health and 1 from human services, who are willing to cook a food from their culture. And it'll be something really exciting that we're partnering with the Y on. We're really trying to promote diversity, and we're finding that a really great way to do this is through food, because everyone loves food. And
I think you got muted by mistake, Nicole.
Sorry, when I muted myself for the cough, I apparently muted Nicole.
She was trying to be polite.
Sorry about that.
I don't know.
It just sounds like coughed.
Oh, so the goal is to have people from the community, so that way if you see someone at the grocery store and you're like, oh, hey, you feel more comfortable asking them questions about their culture, maybe connecting with them and being more comfortable with different cultures by like trying their food and figuring out why it's important to them. So if you know anyone or have a connection with anyone in Winnebago County that is of a different culture that would be willing to do this, we are working on finding a way to just pay for the ingredients so that it's of no cost to the person presenting. And the Y is working on promotional materials so that it's a really good partnership because we're going to kind of team together and find a way to do this. And then in the summer, because a lot of people are on vacation, we are going to do it with kids and have an intergenerational. So maybe if grandparents are taking care of their grandkids, they can bring them and we can present it in a format that's more intergenerational and focused on kids trying foods from different cultures. So more to come on that. The first one will hopefully be in November, but we just got this started like last week. It was one of our aging goals. Was to start working on multicultural cooking demonstrations. And so the Y thought it was something that they would really benefit from too. And we're gonna do it on Tuesday mornings because they have an older adults class that ends at 11. So that way, hopefully we can get some people that are involved in some of the wellness classes at the Y to come to this free community presentation.
Will this be like live streamed or available like taped or?
So we are working on that. The Y does live stream some of their classes. So they're going to talk to the people that are doing that to tape it. And so we can put it on Facebook and other people can watch it.
YouTube, you know?
Yeah, present the recipes so people could make them at home if they wanted to. I think our first person is going to be Chu here from Human Services, and she's going to make pho from her culture. So that will be really exciting. And unfortunately, she was telling us that she can't make it live only because it takes 2 hours or more, which I didn't even know. And so she will be making it at home and bringing it and then talking about how to make it. So like I said, more to come on that, but it's pretty exciting stuff.
It's cool because some of those foods probably relate to a tradition within that culture too. You know, like we always made this when this or during this. Yeah.
So I'm trying to think. We have 2 new interns that started this week. So that's very exciting. Taylor and Nick. So you might be seeing them at different meetings and such. Rob is on our bus advocacy team, and on September 26th, Rob and myself and 2 staff along with an intern are going to be taking bus routes to important places that people wouldn't usually take them, and hopefully advocating for things maybe that would be better, talking to people on the bus about things that we could improve, seeing the stops and the difficulty of it, to try to advocate for the people that are taking the bus. What we have learned is sometimes the people making the decisions aren't the people that have actually experienced what it's like. And so having our staff do this, and as well as people in the community eventually. But right now, we've told Rob he can't tell us all his tricks and tips, that we have to be uncomfortable and maybe mess up a little bit so we can feel what it's really like. And none of our staff are allowed to research how to take the bus routes. But we have decided we are gonna go to the doctor's office, to Walmart, and to the senior center. So places that people would generally, important places people will go on the bus. So
You mean overall too.
yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And so Rob and I will tell you more about it in the October meeting. Hopefully we make it back. I've never taken the bus here in Oshkosh, so it'll be a new experience.
And you didn't want to try doing it in January?
We are actually going to hopefully do it on a larger scale in February. I think it is for Bus Advocacy Day. So we're going to try to plan a bigger thing, but we're going to start out small. And then Alana and I are actually going this month to Madison to an AARP event that is learning about housing options. So hopefully we'll be able to come back and tell you what we've learned from that. And that's it.
Outstanding. Alana, you next.
I'll just piggyback off that. Nicole and I also, well, I support Nicole in her chat with the state this week on reporting on the aging plan goals. And I thought just for the sake of this committee, they might want to specifically see that wellness plus goal. So I did include the link there that you can put in the minutes to share. It shows the number of classes and participants and locations. And as you can tell, even with the caveat of COVID last year and still confusing many of the spring classes this year, Joanne has continued to maintain it. And grow it. We have 7 new leaders that we're looking towards being able to teach on some kind of work capacity in 2023, which is really great because it's more sustainability for us. It offers Joanne more consistency rather than training a new leader every single time that a class season comes around and then having to fill in for them and support them. So Joanne's been really working hard. She's very over capacity right now, in which our health department has approved some extra hours for her. So I just wanted you guys to be aware that the Wellness Plus is a lot of weight on her right now, especially with all of the events going on for seniors around this time. There's the Time of Your Life Expo, the senior exercise and nutrition at the YMCA. There's another one up in Neenah called the Aging Committee
School for
School for
Seniors.
Seniors. Huh? Sorry.
School for Seniors.
Yeah, School for Seniors. Yeah, so she's been really able to get out there and do a lot of those events. Myself and Lori and Erin support her when we can, but everyone knows how much fun Joanne is. So she's usually our face for Wellness Plus. Good front on the COVID updates. We are seeing our community rates go back down to low, which is really nice as we're heading into the school season. We will have the brand new booster that is more adjusted to include the Omicron variants ready by the 21st to be dispersed by the health department through our routine clinics. You can still keep using the website wcvaccine.org. Put it in the chat again, and that tells you all the places locally that you can go. There's flyers to share. We're really still trying to target some of those smaller, more precise areas. Other than that, Teresa Paula, she's been one of the main promoting healthy aging nurses that Health and Human Services staff work with. She has announced her retirement for February of 2023. She's been with us for 31 years, so that's quite a bit of knowledge that I'm excited for her, but we got to make sure we retain that. So just a heads up to Health and Human Services that there will be some transition there. You'll still continue to work with Erin and Lori heavily as we help older adults through their medical needs. That's all.
Thank you, Alana.
Will those COVID boosters be available like when you guys do our flu shots or not? Is it something totally different?
It is so difficult because of the different vaccine vials and the amount that we would have to double our staff, and most of the locations that we're going to for the county staff aren't set up to be lab type areas. So there is going to be some restrictions on there. We're trying to see if we can double hit it, but it's hard enough for our staff right now to be going to individual buildings. We're in the same situation where we're understaffed and stretched, and people don't know why we're still doing clinics, but we're trying. We hope that employees do have, most of them have health insurance. You can go to Sunnyview every Wednesday, but also with health insurance, you should have access through your provider and still places like Walgreens and other pharmacies.
Thank you.
Any questions of Alana? Mike, you had a question earlier, and I feel to acknowledge you. Okay, I guess Mike's
No, okay, Paul.
Oh,
Yeah.
since you mentioned Mike's name, it just did remind me to mention, if you haven't been paying attention, not on the county board, for those of you, we have had some fails recently in bringing some money into the health department to support some of our work through grants. And there's a lot of confusion about what public health is versus medicine, and that fear of conspiracy around the work that we do. So please do your best to inform your residents and partners about the work that we do and how we're trying to help folks so that we can walk away from, well, we won't be able to walk away, but we can separate ourselves from the health department is trying to get inside the brains of our children and ruin them. We really appreciate that help.
Thank you, Alana. Kate, anything from your end? Okay, Jan? Tamar? Liz? Okay, Harold
No.
and Rob?
Yeah, I have one thing. I attended the August 16th Berry Festival, and it was well attended, and I thought the staff did an outstanding job with their setup and their food, and so I really enjoyed it. And that's all I have.
Thanks,
We
Rob.
got a lot of good positive feedback about our very special open house.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Mike, anything from the county board? And
No, no, I will say that we had a pretty good response to the presentation of the housing study last week. I think there's some encouragement. I think Beth, you and whoever should get together and with the doctor who made the presentation to see what steps are next, because I think there's some very much interest in it, and had quite a few questions from my fellow county board members on the topic. So I think we presented the ideal, or not the ideal, the problem. I think we should try to see what we can do about it. I mean, there's some things, suggestions were made by certain supervisors, and the things we should do maybe from now on. Then. So, but we had a good response to the presentation last Tuesday.
thank you. Beth and Mike, where are we at with our two member vacancies? And then the county board members that have or have not been appointed to attend this meeting. Do you know?
I would defer to Beth, because the one member who got appointed at the same time I got reappointed, even though they tried to kick me off, but that's another story. He's not showing up here. And then we have two new members, and I don't know what's going on about that. I mean, we obviously have anybody interested in any area in this county, contact the county executive's office or Beth and let them know we have openings. Thank you. That's my perspective.
Yeah, I spoke with both of the newer members after our last meeting. They both want to be part of this and intend to come. Brett's just as busy, I guess, traveling and just busy with his business. But intends to continue. And then I met with the other member, who I did an orientation with him. And he fully intends to be here, and I didn't hear from him today, so I'm not sure what happened today. And like Mike said, there's two open positions that will probably be looking for someone from the northern part of the county representing our older adults.
So anybody on the committee currently that has some friends or knows of people that we should contact or lobby a bit, let us know. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question. This is from Mike. You were gonna talk to the county executive about voting. And, apparently there was a discrepancy, about, whether you could vote by Zoom or was that the issue?
Well, I will, the issue is, that, county board members cannot, they can Zoom into a meeting, but they can't vote via, by Zoom. And the issue there is we want to make it to where at least, for committee meetings, boards, commissions, that all people, all members, whether they're county board members or not, should be able to fully participate. And I got a correction and my health board is that doesn't apply to those boards and commissions that do have citizen members like this one. So, I don't know if Beth has got any added, information. That's what I'm trying to do, is make it, we can't do it at the county board level where we, have to be in person to vote. But me and another member are trying to get it so that you can Zoom into a meeting or virtually participate and still fully participate in the meeting. So that's the issue there. Thank you.
Our corp council said that you cannot vote if you're not present. You have to be present to vote. I do have a couple other updates. One of them is that we've talked in the past about Route 10, and Route 10 is the route from Oshkosh to Neenah bus route that will be ending probably sometime in May next year. In the meantime, we're going to be piloting an extension of our paratransit, so kind of blue card, red card system, and expanding that to someone who might need to get home from work, or just someone who might be getting dialysis. They don't necessarily have a disability, they're not an older adult, but they need to get dialysis. So we're going to be extending our current paratransit to include other populations other than people who are older adults and or have a disability, with the intent of that pretty much replacing Route 10. So it'll be a more direct on-demand type of a service. Yeah, more to come when I know more. The meal sites in Winnebago County, Amro and Winnicott are targeted. Is it this month, Nicole?
It was supposed to start September 6th.
Okay, so they're starting last week. And then we'll get an update as far as when like the Oshkosh and other meal sites will be opening up. I have found a supervisor for the new HELP or homeless prevention program. And I'm hoping she'll start sometime maybe mid-October, mid to end of October. And she will be on board to help us start taking referrals for people who are at risk of housing stability. She will be helping me to hire 2 of the staff who will be doing that and just kind of develop the program. Hopefully you can meet her next month. Oh, no, it'll have to be November that you meet her. And then I alluded to a surgery for myself. I probably shouldn't have been so vague about it. I've had a bad ankle for 21 years, almost to the date. And I found a physician who can do something rather drastic and extreme to it, but it'll take away all my ankle problems. So it's a 12-week recovery, 8 weeks, no weight bearing, but I should only be out of the office for about a week. So it's nothing, I alluded to a surgery and everyone's probably thinking, what's she having surgery on? So it's nothing life-threatening. It's an elective surgery, really.
Well, it doesn't sound elective to me, but so.
I know it's something where it's like, it's definitely the better of 2 evils.
Any other questions or comments, or I don't see any more hand gestures or anything like that, so I think we'll call ourselves adjourned at 4:11 on Monday, September 12th.
Enjoy the
Thank
end
you.
of your summer, last few days.
Take care,
Well,
everybody.
I'm gonna vote.
Good
no.
luck, Beth.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good luck, Beth.